Hello everyone, welcome back to the Global Alert TV channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today's story takes us deep into the heart of the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia, a story that has once again shaken the world's energy markets and military balance. In the last 24 hours, a powerful and precise Ukrainian drone strike has targeted one of Russia's largest and most strategically important gas plants located in the Orenburg region, setting off a massive fire that burned for hours and sent plumes of black smoke thousands of feet into the sky. The explosion not only destroyed vital sections of the plant but also disrupted the flow of gas that supplied multiple regions in Russia and neighboring countries. This event is being described by analysts as one of the most significant blows to Russia's energy infrastructure since the war began. Externally, the site of the explosion looks like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Satellite images show a vast industrial complex surrounded by scorched earth, mangled pipelines, and twisted metal structures that once formed the core of the facility. Emergency services rushed to the scene but struggled to contain the blaze because the plant's gas reserves continued to fuel the fire from within. The flames could be seen from miles away, illuminating the night sky over Orenburg. Witnesses reported hearing multiple secondary explosions as storage tanks ruptured, sending shockwaves across nearby villages. The Russian Emergency Ministry has tried to downplay the extent of the damage, but leaked footage circulating online paints a very different picture: a sprawling gas processing hub reduced to smoldering ruins, with workers fleeing and rescue teams battling extreme heat. Inside, or what used to be the interior of this vast complex, the devastation is almost unimaginable. The Orenburg gas plant was a modern, multi-layered industrial system with advanced refining units, control rooms, compressors, and monitoring facilities. It handled the purification and export of natural gas, one of the backbones of Russia's energy economy. Before the attack, engineers inside the facility worked around the clock maintaining gas flows to domestic pipelines and export routes leading to Europe and Central Asia. But when the Ukrainian drones struck, everything changed in seconds. The first drone reportedly hit a main processing tower, triggering an enormous pressure wave that caused nearby structures to collapse instantly. The second and third drones followed within minutes, targeting critical valve junctions and storage units, ensuring that the fire would spread uncontrollably. Inside the control rooms, chaos erupted as alarms blared and systems failed. The sophisticated fire suppression systems were overwhelmed within moments, and thick, toxic smoke filled the air. Workers barely escaped through emergency exits as flames consumed the facility. The interior of this gas plant once represented Russian engineering pride, a place where efficiency, automation, and precision came together to produce billions of cubic meters of natural gas annually. But now, that interior has turned into a graveyard of steel and ash. Computer terminals are melted, pipelines are ruptured, and the metallic skeleton of the main reactor tower stands as a haunting reminder of how fragile even the strongest infrastructure can be when struck by modern warfare technology. The Ukrainian military's use of long-range drones shows a remarkable evolution in their tactics. These weren't ordinary reconnaissance drones, they were advanced, precision-guided aerial systems capable of flying hundreds of kilometers deep into Russian territory undetected. Their performance in this operation demonstrates Ukraine's growing ability to strike at the very core of Russia's economic and industrial might, far beyond the front lines of battle. From a performance standpoint, this drone strike is not only a demonstration of military capability but also a psychological message. The drone's effectiveness highlights how warfare has shifted from traditional tanks and missiles to smart, automated, and inexpensive aerial systems. According to initial reports, each drone used in the Orenburg strike cost less than a modern cruise missile but delivered a comparable level of destruction. The drones were likely equipped with high-precision navigation systems and infrared targeting to identify heat signature points within the gas plant. By hitting the exact sections where gas pressure was at its highest, Ukraine ensured that the secondary explosions would amplify the overall impact. Analysts have pointed out that the timing of the strike was also significant, executed during night hours when Russia's air defenses were at their weakest. This operation shows not only technical excellence but also strategic intelligence, with Ukraine's forces learning to adapt quickly to Russia's countermeasures. In terms of safety features, the Orenburg gas plant was supposed to be one of Russia's most secure energy facilities. Built with multiple layers of fire suppression, isolation valves, and emergency cooling systems, it was designed to withstand industrial accidents. However, no infrastructure is truly safe when it becomes a military target. The safety mechanisms failed to contain the catastrophe because the drones deliberately targeted those very systems first. Reports indicate that the initial strike disabled the plant's automated emergency response network, leaving the rest of the facility defenseless. Fire brigades struggled for hours to isolate the blaze but were hindered by the lack of water access and the continuous flow of natural gas feeding the fire. Russia's internal security forces later sealed off the area, citing terrorist sabotage, while Ukraine maintained that it was a legitimate military strike on a war-supporting facility. The destruction also raises concerns about environmental safety. Massive amounts of methane and other hydrocarbons have been released into the atmosphere, worsening air quality in surrounding regions. Local residents reported suffocating smoke and burning sensations in their eyes, forcing many to evacuate. The ecological damage could last for months, if not years, as toxic residues seep into soil and groundwater. Despite the risks, Russia has vowed to rebuild the plant, though experts believe it could take at least a year to restore even partial functionality. For a country already under heavy sanctions and facing economic strain, this represents another severe setback. One of the unique selling points of this incident, if we may use that term metaphorically, is how it reshapes the global understanding of energy warfare. For decades, Russia's energy infrastructure was considered untouchable, the lifeline that kept Europe and Asia dependent on Moscow's exports. Now, with a single coordinated drone attack, that illusion has been shattered. Ukraine has effectively demonstrated that energy dominance can be challenged, and that technology can level the playing field between a smaller nation and a superpower. This has not only military but also economic implications. Energy prices have already surged following the attack, with European gas futures jumping nearly 10% in a single day. Investors are anxious about further supply disruptions, while insurance premiums for energy infrastructure across Eastern Europe are soaring. The attack has introduced a new dimension to modern conflict, the weaponization of energy vulnerability. At the same time, the strike underscores Ukraine's growing partnership with Western allies who have been supplying advanced drone and navigation technologies. While Kyiv has not disclosed the exact type of drones used, experts believe they incorporated hybrid guidance systems capable of autonomous navigation and real-time target adjustment. This means that even without direct operator control, the drones could adapt mid-flight to avoid jamming or radar interception. That level of performance reflects cutting-edge innovation, making Ukraine's drone program one of the most effective among non-NATO countries. Russia, on the other hand, has been left to reconsider its defensive strategy. Despite having one of the world's largest air defense networks, it failed to prevent a strike hundreds of kilometers from the front lines. The incident reveals significant gaps in Russia's radar coverage and command-response coordination. As for the price aspect, though this isn't a consumer product, we can interpret it as the economic cost of the strike. Russia's loss is estimated in the billions of dollars. The destroyed plant was responsible for processing up to 30 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually, and its temporary shutdown could cost the Russian government millions per day in lost revenue. The indirect costs, including reconstruction, environmental cleanup, and disruption to domestic supply chains, may push the total damage far higher. For Ukraine, however, the cost of executing this operation was minimal compared to its impact. Each drone cost a fraction of the damage inflicted. This asymmetry, where a low-cost weapon delivers high-value results, is becoming the hallmark of modern warfare. It represents a fundamental shift in how nations project power and defend assets in the 21st century. The broader implications are far-reaching. The attack on the Orenburg gas plant has sent ripples through international energy markets. European countries that once depended on Russian gas are now accelerating their transition to alternative sources. Meanwhile, oil and gas prices are reacting violently to every new development in the region. Traders fear that if Ukraine continues these deep strike operations, Russia's ability to export energy could be crippled before winter. That possibility worries not just Moscow but also global energy consumers, as reduced supply can drive inflation and strain economies worldwide. This single attack, therefore, is more than a military maneuver, it's a move on the global economic chessboard. Inside Russia, the response has been one of anger and embarrassment. State media initially ignored the story but later admitted to a technical fire at the Orenburg facility. Independent journalists, however, have published satellite proof showing precision impact craters consistent with drone strikes. The Kremlin has vowed retaliation, possibly through renewed missile barrages against Ukrainian infrastructure. Yet such escalation only deepens the cycle of destruction. For ordinary Russians, the fear is growing that their own industrial heartlands are no longer safe. This realization undermines public confidence and puts pressure on the government to improve domestic defenses or seek diplomatic off-ramps, something that still seems far away. From a humanitarian perspective, incidents like this highlight the hidden costs of war. Thousands of workers have lost their jobs overnight, families have been displaced, and communities are left to deal with toxic air and uncertainty. For Ukrainians, the operation is seen as a step toward self-defense and justice after months of missile attacks on their power grids and cities. Each side justifies its actions as necessary for survival, but the world watches as both nations inch further away from peace. Global powers have expressed concern, but so far, no concrete steps toward de-escalation have been taken. The United Nations has called for restraint, yet neither Kyiv nor Moscow appears willing to back down. As the smoke slowly clears over Orenburg, one thing becomes evident: the era of safe distances in war is over. The reach of modern drones means that no target, however deep inside a nation's borders, can be guaranteed protection. This reality forces military planners everywhere to rethink their strategies and defenses. The Orenburg strike is not just a local event, it's a case study for future conflicts. Governments around the world are now studying this incident to understand how relatively small force used intelligence, technology, and precision to achieve strategic shock. In conclusion, the Ukrainian drone strike on Russia's largest gas plant is a defining moment in both the war and modern military history. It demonstrates how warfare has evolved, from large-scale invasions to precision technological warfare where a single drone can cause nationwide repercussions. It exposes vulnerabilities in even the most advanced energy infrastructures and raises questions about how nations can protect their industrial lifelines. Economically, it shakes markets; environmentally, it scars the land; politically, it escalates tensions. For Russia, it is a painful lesson in over-reliance on energy as both a weapon and a weakness. For Ukraine, it is a statement of resilience and innovation, proof that determination and technology can outmatch size and might. The fire at Orenburg may eventually be extinguished, but its consequences will burn long into the future, shaping not only the outcome of this war but the strategies of future generations.